Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Brad Browning here. As many of you already know, I am a breakup and relationship coach from Vancouver, Canada, and I'm also author of The X Factor, a guide to getting back together with your ex. Now, my newest video here today is going to focus specifically on talking to your ex. And basically, I'm going to explain what you should and should not be talking about with your ex when you want to win them back. Now, I do want to warn you first, though, that you should only be having real, actual conversations with your ex if you've already gone through a period of no contact. And really, ideally, you only want to be talking to your ex when you've planned for it in advance. So if you haven't already gone through no contact or followed the other initial steps outlined in my X Factor program, then you should really only be communicating with your ex if there's an unexpected or unavoidable encounter. Like running into them at the mall, or if you both work at the same office, that kind of thing. So if you do find yourself chatting with your ex, whether it's planned or unplanned, here are some topics that you can talk about safely. So number one, ask your ex specific open-ended questions. This is probably the single best way to ensure that you have a conversation that's positive, upbeat, and interesting to your ex. By asking them specific questions about things in their life or topics of interest, you're allowing them to share news or updates since the breakup, and you're avoiding any potentially negative or emotional topics. So some examples of specific questions might include stuff like, are you still applying to new jobs, or have you already found something? Or you might say, how's your thesis paper coming along? Were you able to land an interview with that biologist? Or maybe you could say, I was talking to a friend about New Zealand last night. Are you still thinking about traveling there for a couple of months? Or how are you liking the new car? Does it still have that new car smell? Now again, these are just some really generic examples. You could pick any topic that you know is interesting to your ex, and then ask a question that will lead to further conversation, or at the very least, something more than just a yes or no answer. Now, don't ask about anything that might possibly lead to negative memories or topics, and don't pick something that seems forced. You want to appear genuine and natural, as though you're asking out of pure curiosity and you're genuinely interested in the answer. Number two, share gossip and updates about friends or insider topics. This is a really easy one. Sharing news or gossip about people you both know is a great option, especially if you have some news or updates on someone or something that's going to be of interest to your ex. So, for example, let's say that before you broke up, you and your ex had often joked about your permanently single friend, Bob. Maybe you tried to set Bob up, and his dating failures turned into kind of like an inside joke for you and your ex. Now, if Bob found a girlfriend a few weeks ago after you and your ex broke up, then you could share that news and talk about this new girl that Bob is dating. So you'll know that it's something interesting to your ex because you've already talked about it in the past, and it's a positive topic that might lead to some laughs and a fun conversation. It's also a good way of creating a sort of us versus them feeling, reminding your ex of the strong connection that you used to share and bringing up some positive memories. Now, if you don't have any updates to share, you can also ask your ex for updates or news on something that you talked about regularly when you were together. For instance, you might ask your ex for the latest news on her cousin Jake's reality TV show. Did he end up signing that contract with HBO? Or has he moved on to another project that's doomed to fail? Again, that's just an example, but you can definitely have some fun with this. The key is to focus on talking about the same things that you did while you were together, making sure that whatever it is you're talking about or updating your ex on is interesting to your ex and won't lead to any negative or emotional topics. Number three, tell your ex about all the great things that have happened in your life since the breakup. This is by far the best topic of conversation anytime you're chatting with your ex. Now, you can't overdo it and come across as though you're bragging or trying to make your ex jealous. So do be careful to remain humble and not drag on too long, so your ex becomes bored. You can't spend the whole time talking about yourself either. But talking about the interesting, exciting things that have happened in your life since the breakup is an ideal way to eat up a few minutes of conversation. So first of all, if you've seen the full video on my website, you'll know that the key to getting back together with your ex is to make them actually want you back. To rebuild your ex's attraction for you, both emotional and physical attraction, to the point where he or she comes to that decision on their own. And in order to do that, you need to reshape the mental image that your ex has of you in the back of their mind. And one way to do that is to share stories or news about your awesome new life to subconsciously shift your ex's perception of you from sort of, clinging and annoying to fun, interesting, and desirable. There's many other ways to help change how your ex feels about you beyond this, what I've talked about in this video. So please go to breakupbrad.com and watch the main video on there to learn a few more sneaky psychological tactics that can help you win back your ex. But Like I said, sharing news and especially telling brief, interesting, or funny stories is an awesome topic of conversation. So for instance, and this is just a quick example off the top of my head, maybe you've been studying for your private pilot's license for some time and you and your ex had talked about it many times. And after the breakup, you took your first solo flight and almost crashed because there was a spider in the cockpit. And of course, since this has happened recently, after the breakup, you can tell that story to your ex the first time you meet up in person, knowing that it's going to make them laugh and it's going to break the ice. Now, if you don't have a funny story, then you can talk about how you went skydiving with your friends last weekend, or tell your ex about the hilarious new instructor who's been teaching the karate class you just enrolled in, or whatever. Just make sure to keep it brief, upbeat, or funny, and avoid being boring. Now, before I finish, let's quickly talk about two topics of conversation that you want to avoid like the plague anytime you're talking with your ex. The first thing that you should never talk about with your ex is your relationship. So don't fall into any drama, serious discussions about your past or your future together, or the breakup, past problems, arguments, whatever. Any and all talk with your ex should focus on interesting, fun stuff that's going to make your ex smile, laugh, or at least spark their curiosity. So that means you should not talk about getting back together, about who you're currently dating, how you're feeling since the breakup. All that kind of stuff should be off limits. You definitely don't want to bring up anything like that, because 99% of the time, those kind of conversations are just going to end up doing more harm than good. And secondly, you also want to avoid any topic that might lead to disagreement or conflict. So that means, don't bring up politics if you've argued over that in the past, or don't criticize the actions or behaviors of your ex or their friends and family. And definitely do not rehash old problems or disputes from your past relationship. Any kind of conflict or negative vibes are bad news, especially during the first few times you're talking with your ex. So stay clear of any kind of topic or comment that might lead down that path. So there you have it. Now you know what to talk about and what to avoid talking about. Like I said before, you should be employing the other strategies that I advocate in my program and here on YouTube, such as no contact, before you get to the point where you're having real conversations with your ex. So if you haven't already, visit breakupbrad.com and watch my full video on there before you call your ex up and start chatting. You should always employ some of the other tactics that I recommend first, and then worry about meeting up and talking with your ex once the stage is set. And again, you can watch my free video at breakupbrad.com. And that is it for now, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you got something from this video. And if you did, I always appreciate the likes and subscribes. And of course, as always, share your feedback or questions in the comments section below, and I will try to respond as soon as I can. Stay tuned for the next video, guys, in a couple of days. And until then, thanks for watching and take care.